Yo, what's going on, guys? And welcome back to the channel. I'm back here with Anthony. Oh, well, what's this?
Again, following our rather limp debate we had last time, this one will hopefully be a bit more interesting, although no promises.
Yeah, I've just finished doing a debate with Rain on whether guns should be, whether the American gun laws are good or not. But that went splendidly. I had such a great time debating him.
Who won, do you think? You?
Oh, I'm saying that the American gun laws are bad.
Okay.
Anyway, that's not this debate. This debate is on why I think the British accent does not exist. And
I do not think this is the case.
Yes, he believes that the British accent exists. And here are my reasons. The British accent, in Britain, the countries are Welsh, Scotland, England, and Northern Ireland. Welsh, Scotland, England, Northern.
Yes, and although in most of those countries, except maybe Welsh, I don't know if there's such a thing. Well, they all have pretty distinct accents, you would say, wouldn't you?
Yes, I'm not too familiar with Welsh either, but the other, yes, I would agree that all of them have distinct accents.
Yes. And so do you believe that those accents are real, or is it just specifically the British that you think is fake?
Nope, I think they all exist. They're just different accents. I think calling it a British accent is not correct because you can't combine all those accents together. It's not very accurate at all.
Well, yes, people who live in Britain do have a distinctive accent. There's a difference from Irish and Scottish.
But Britain is Ireland, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, Scotland, and England. That is Britain.
But that's not Britain.
No, they're Britain.
That's not Britain. That's the different countries.
Yeah, but all those countries make up Britain, along with Welsh. Great Britain.
Well, yes, but like, just because it's all contained in one area doesn't mean you can't have multiple accents. That's been proved before. Like, just because you're in a certain area, you can all have different accents.
I agree with that, but I don't think that calling it a British accent is accurate at all. I think you would have to call it...
A British accent is separate from all of those other accents.
What do you mean it's separate? You mean to say it's its own accent?
Yes, because there is a distinct British accent.
How?
If you go to like England or something.
I mean, Britain isn't a country, though.
Yeah, I know.
So, like, how can Britain have its own accent?
Well, I mean, isn't Britain... Okay, we suck at debating, don't we? We're really not good.
No, this is fine.
Okay, Britain is a country, though?
No, Britain's not a country.
Great Britain is a country.
Well, Great Britain's not a country either.
Okay, Great Britain isn't a country, but Britain is a country.
No, there is no country that's called Britain. Britain is made up of...
Oh, yes.
Britain's short for Great Britain.
I'm saying there is something called an English accent.
Yes, I agree with that.
There's like an English accent, there's a Scottish accent, there's an Irish accent.
Yes.
So, those are all referred to as British accents.
I just don't think that's very accurate at all, because those are very different accents, and saying that they have a British accent does not help at all with knowing what accent they have.
Well, think of it this way. You can say that someone has an African accent, correct?
Not really.
And Africa is not a singular country.
I wouldn't say that people would have an African accent.
Okay, you can say that someone's sounds Asian, correct? They have an Asian accent. Say. But Asia isn't a specific country.
I wouldn't say Asia either. Nor European or Oceanic. I would say they all do not exist. You would have to give their exact country accent.
Well, yes, but the term being like British, it just describes because the fact of the matter is that all of these countries all have fairly similar languages, which means that the accents are similar and derivative of each other. They might not be the same, but they are incredibly derivative of each other, which means that they can, in my opinion, be classified in a single group depending on the general area in the world, like from Britain, from like America, or something like that.
Well, I mean, if you think of an American accent and you think of an Australian accent, they both speak
Yeah.
English, but meaning
Yes.
that by that knowledge, by what you're saying, you could technically say they're pretty much the same thing.
Well, I think Australia is a bit of an exception
How come?
because it has had time to develop because it's developed its own accent.
Hasn't every country? The Americans say stuff differently to how we would say it.
Yes.
That's a completely different accent then to Australia.
Yes, it is a different accent. I'm not saying they're the same. I'm just
So,
saying that they're similar enough to be grouped together in a
I would
single
disagree.
term.
I would disagree that they're similar enough to
Okay.
be brought together. I'd say the similarity, the closest you can get, is why I would call it, say, an Irish accent, whereas a Northern Irish accent and a Southern Irish accent are different, but they're similar enough to be grouped into the Irish accent bundle. But then saying British accent is just too much of variety to be able to properly give it the British
Yes, but you
accent
see,
being
I
accurate
think I
enough.
think the reason why people say that you have a British accent is because your accent isn't particularly strong in any way. So most people can't really pinpoint where it is. Sure, you might
Hmm.
have a little bit of an Irish accent, but not many people would be able to tell. So they just say, "Hey, your accent sounds British," as in it sounds like it originated from
Well,
somewhere in Britain.
people actually assume I have an English accent. And most of the time I've found when I talk to my friends about this is they assume that the English accent is the British accent, but a Scottish and Northern Ireland accent aren't British.
Yes, but the majority of people, when they think Britain, they think England.
Which is
A
incorrect.
lot of and because things like Irish and Scottish are so different, they often separate them. But they are okay. Think of it. Scotland and Irish, right? They are all contained in Britain, which means that they all count as a British accent.
Well, I just think
Since
it's
they are all in
inaccurate.
Britain, then they are all counted as a British accent because
Yes,
they're all in Britain.
but that's like saying 1 plus 1 equals a number. It's like it's correct because it's a number, but it's very inaccurate that if you were to get asked it and you said a number, you would be called wrong.
Well, yes, but that still proves exactly it is true, which means that that a British accent isn't fake. Considering when someone says, "Hey, you have a British accent," they're just asking if you have an accent, but they don't really know which part of Britain it's from. They just think, "Hey, it's probably somewhere in Britain."
Well, that's very inadequate.
But why do you think? Yeah, it doesn't matter exactly. It's inadequate because they don't know. If you had a
Meaning,
thick Irish accent, chances are they wouldn't say, "Hey, do you have a British accent?" They would say, "Wow, you have an Irish accent." If you had a thick
well,
Scottish
you
accent,
could say,
they'd
hey, you
say you
have an
have a thick
Earthling accent.
Scottish accent. But they're saying it's inaccurate because they don't know what specifically your accent is. So they just say that it sounds like it's from Britain.
Well, it's inaccurate enough to be classified as wrong. Like, you could just say you have a Northern Hemisphere accent, or a Southern Hemisphere accent, or even an Earthling accent, for God's sake.
Yes, but there's a place where you draw the line. As I'm
And I
saying,
draw the line at the country.
in the northern hemisphere, for example, that has things like Asia and America. They were extremely like they weren't the same. The accents didn't develop in the same type of area. Whereas places like the Scottish and the Irish and the English accent more or less were like derivative of each other. They all have more or less the same origins in a way. So there's obviously a place where the line can be drawn,
They all come
and
from
where that line can
English.
be drawn is entirely subjective. But I don't think there's anything. And sure, you might draw it in a lot closer and a lot than I do. But I just think that if that a British accent just opposed to an accent from Britain. Which how can that be fake? Because people in Britain have accents.
Well, wouldn't it be so much more accurate to say they have an English accent that it's just so inaccurate that it's pretty much
Yes,
wrong?
it would be more accurate, but but what if they don't know that you have an English accent, or they're not sure that you have an English accent?
Well,
They're like,
then,
oh, well, it sounds like something from Britain, so I'll just say, hey, do you have a British accent? Sure, it's inaccurate, but how in but like they can't be accurate because they don't know. So, are you just saying that those people shouldn't say anything about an accent?
I'm saying that they should not state what accent it is, and they should ask and not say that it's a certain
But
accent.
everybody has an accent in some way.
Of course, I'm not saying that they
Everyone
don't.
has an accent. So if you just say, "Hey, you have an accent," that gives even less information.
No,
That literally
hey,
gives
what
no
accent do
information,
you have?
considering that everybody who can talk has an accent.
Yes, but I'm
So
saying they should.
they are pinpointing it just a little bit more than they normally would, which
Well, I think
why you have a problem with that.
I think that stating that is very inaccurate enough that you should ask instead of state, because no one speaks with a British accent.
And see that's where I disagree. You do speak with a British accent because any accent that is contained within Britain is an English accent. So people do speak with a British accent.
Wait,
But
any
then there are
accent that's contained within Britain is an English accent.
no, I said any accent that is contained within Britain is a British accent. Sorry, I mixed up my words there.
Right.
But that's what I meant. It is a British accent if it is contained within Britain. So yes, people do speak with a British accent, but generally, if you see someone with an Irish accent, or like a heavy Irish accent, enough for you to be able to tell very easily, they'll go a little bit more in detail and say, "Hey, you have an Irish accent." But if they don't particularly know what type of accent that you have specifically, they'll say that you have a British accent.
So if someone doesn't know, then it justifies giving the most inaccurate answer they could possibly give.
Well, no, the most inaccurate possible that they can give is you have an accent, which is what you suggested.
That's not what I suggested. What I suggested is for them to go, "Oh, hey, what accent is that you have?" Not state an
Okay,
incorrect fact.
okay. But it's not incorrect. They're just saying that you have a British accent is incorrect. Isn't incorrect, I mean. Because you would say that you have like an accent that originated from Britain, yeah?
No.
Okay, wait, what accent do you have? I'm really bad at accents.
I have just a combination of like an Irish um
Exactly,
and
a
a
combination of an Irish, which is a British
no 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 no
country,
no no
more
no
or
no.
less.
Actually, funny enough, the accent I got my accent from my dad, and my dad is not from Northern Ireland, which is the only part of Britain, which is the only part of
Yeah,
Ireland that's in Britain. So
okay.
technically,
Okay,
I don't actually have a. Even
yeah.
if that was the even if I agreed with you in saying that that's a British accent, which I don't, but if I did, I would still not have a British accent. I would have a combination of.
Yes, but it's still an Irish accent, which by extension is an accent in Britain.
See, that's just too much extension, though. Because I'm already extending
Well,
Southern Irish accent to Northern Irish accent, which are pretty different. But I've already extended that and drawn the line there, and then extending it to a Scottish, English, and Welsh accent as well. That's just a lot of accents combined.
yes,
Because like English is a big load of accents,
yes,
and so is
it really is.
Scotland.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a lot of
And
accents that you're saying. Like just saying a country of accent, that's a lot. That's already a lot because England has a lot of different accents.
yes, it does. But they're all fairly similar, and they all converge from the same, more or less, point. They all came from each other. What did you say? Because they were all really close. So when each of the accents were developing, they obviously had some sort of input on each other, more or less. Accents are a very big thing to
Well,
develop.
once again, I come back to the point of anyone that speaks English also has that same. You could fall under that same header, like American and English accent. If say you want to exclude Australia, which I really disagree with, but whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever, we could
So
exclude
you're
Australia
saying
if we
that
want.
so you're
But
saying that they are both different, but I'm
I'm
saying that
saying,
that for example America and Britain they were far apart, and only a few people moved to America, and so they made their and since they've spent so long apart, they've had time to develop their own accent, just like what happened with Australia. So they ditched the you know English accent or any other part of Britain, and they developed their own accent
I
because it was
mean,
a new country.
if you think of, but Scotland and Ireland and England, they're fairly far apart. I mean, they're not ginormous ways apart, but like they're a distance. Like that's, but yet
Yes,
you still combine them into the same bracket.
because they are more or less in the same in the same area. And I'm saying that their accents most
Well,
likely played off.
well,
I'm not 100% sure, but I think that that's probably what happened.
well,
So I think that
France.
they're similar enough to be classified as a British accent.
Well, France is right beside England. Is
Yes,
Could that
and
not
they
be
have
lumped in together?
developed their own there. But that would count. That would count as a European accent.
Oh, so now we get a European accent that involves a quote unquote British accent as well, along with a
Yes,
bunch of other accents.
yes. You have your European accents, and then you have like your like. Think of it as like different levels. You have the country's accent, then you have the sub country's accent, then you have like the general area accent, and then you have like the continent, and then you have okay, hemisphere is a bit stretching it, but like as you can see, they're a bit they all their accents in Europe are mostly similar to each other. But if you compare an accent from Europe to an accent in say Asia, they're completely different, which
Um,
means that
you would said that France has that a French accent would be a European accent,
yes,
and you would also classify, say, an English accent as a European accent,
yes,
but you wouldn't classify them both as a British accent
no,
because they're too different.
yes, because one is contained within Britain and the other one isn't.
See, I don't think we're going to go very far with this because we just
I
don't
really
agree on
don't
where to draw
either.
the line here. Because I think that
Yeah, we
stating someone has a British accent is so inaccurate that it's wrong. It's like saying, "Oh
and
yeah,
I disagree with you on that. Saying it doesn't really saying I draw the line at like a much higher point. Saying it's okay if you say, hey, you sound like you have a European accent, but you don't think that that's inadequate enough
what about
information, to tell someone.
what
So
about
I guess we're kind of in a stalemate because, like, again, it's hard to convince someone when it's a fairly reasonable opinion to have.
so
I see where you're coming from. I just don't really agree with you.
and would
So again,
you agree? What about an oceanic um
okay,
accent?
so like an Australian accent is counted as an Australian accent because it comes from Australia. I don't think that it can really be classified as a British accent
I'm,
because we've had hundreds of years apart
but
and
it
we've had
comes from
enough time to
England.
develop. Just like how you won't consider an American accent the same as a British accent, despite the fact that the people from from America were originally from Britain. Just like you wouldn't count an Australian accent as a British accent because the people in Britain were once from Australia. The other way around.
Um, but and what about an oceanic accent? Like that's Australia. I'm really not too familiar with Oceania. Um, Asia, Australia, Asia and Australia. Actually, that's it. So, would you say that
Yeah.
Asia and Australia have an oceanic accent?
Yeah.
So you would
Yeah.
agree
What about?
with that?
So, I mean, you can go up to someone. If someone went up to you and you had an Australian accent, and they went up to you and said, "Hey, you sound like you have an Australian accent," would you say that's okay?
Um, I wouldn't be too annoyed with them because I do have a combination of an Australian accent. Yeah.
Okay. Now, say you're in America, right? And you know how America has multiple different accents. You know how you have Southern, you have
Yeah.
Northern, you have like New York.
Yeah.
Say you had like a Southern accent, and someone came up to you and said, "You have an American accent." Would you be mad at them?
I would like them to be a lot more specific because America does have a lot of accents, but
But
I
Australia doesn't. So you're saying that because Australia doesn't have a lot of accents, it is more acceptable than America, which does have a lot of accents.
I would be fine with someone saying I have an American accent if I was from Southern America, Northern America, wherever. It's
Yeah.
it's close enough, but
Okay.
it's
But but you draw the line at places like Europe, which have a fairly distinct one, especially in Britain.
I draw the line at the country.
Even though that they have different accents, different accents and are contained within one place, Britain, you would still get mad at them for referring okay. So now say that you live in England and you have an Irish accent, and you would be mad if someone went up to you and said, "Hey, do you have a British accent?"
How much money am I
So
spending
you
in
would be
paint
mad
fights
at
at the
them for
moment
that,
here?
yes?
I'm getting
Well, not
confused on
mad.
what
Mad
country I
isn't the
live in.
right word.
What country am I living
So,
in right
so
now?
what's the difference between something like America and something like Britain? What is the difference that would make you, a little bit indifferent about an America and yet
Well,
fairly annoyed if they did it in Britain? What's
because
the difference?
America is a country, whereas Britain's a combination of other countries. Because Britain
Well,
isn't a
yes, but
country,
they still have multiple accents,
but way
and they are
more
still.
accents. That's too much accents. Because there's a lot of different Irish accents, a lot of different Scottish accents, and a lot of different English accents and Welsh accents as well. But like even saying like an English accent, that's not necessarily that specific. There's a lot of English accents, and that's why I'm saying you draw the line at the country because there's a lot of different accents in every country, and then lumping four
Yes,
countries together and saying they have
if the country is big enough. But what's to say that America doesn't have multiple accents either?
I mean, Ireland's
Have a
like
lot of
top 10
accents as
smallest
well.
countries in the world probably, and it's goddamn got millions of accents.
Yes, because and America has quite a lot of accents as well. So you would say that Irish, that Ireland that has more accents than America, thus makes it someone saying that you have. So are you saying that if America had more accents, then your opinion would change about someone saying you have an American accent? You're saying that if America had way more accents than it currently does, that would change. That opinion would change.
No, because America is still a
Country.
country, and it's still um what's the word? It's still not comprises. It still like minimizes the amount of countries, the amount of accents you could have.
Mm, well, I mean, I would argue that. I mean, America has a lot of states,
It
which,
does.
to be honest, could possibly be countries on their own. Same as Great Britain. Uh, like I kind of see it as like, kind of like similar in a way. Great Britain and America, as in they both have different places that are mostly contained within a singular thing, and yet they all have different accents. That's why I wouldn't. If I had an Irish accent and someone says, "Do you have a British accent?" I would be fine with it as long as my accent wasn't really thick.
Well, you see, a Southern American accent and a Northern American accent are different, but still fairly
Yeah, yes.
similar. Whereas an English accent and a Northern Ireland accent are they're literally opposites, pretty much.
Yeah, but that's because the Irish had a different language. but just because they have a different language, they're still contained within the same category, which means you can still refer to them as that category, in my opinion. Now, you don't think that that is a broad enough information for you to actually say something about. That's correct. Is that correct?
I agree with that. Yes, correct.
Okay. Well, I don't really see how I can convince you that that's not the case because I can kind of see that, but it's just a matter of opinion at this point.
I guess you could say it's a matter of opinion, but
Yeah.
okay. Well, I guess we've hit a stalemate.
Okay. I guess we got nowhere again.
I don't think I've ever gone someone with where I've got that I can't speak. I don't think I've ever gone somewhere with a debate yet.
I know. God, I'm not good at debating. Well, who knows? Maybe I am. I mean, I felt like I did pretty good, but like, again, it's not really a like it's not really a topic where you can like as I said, it's like last time the opinion isn't really that controversial. So like I tried my best, but neither of us were budging, which I guess that's just our opinion.
Yeah, I could be here forever.
Yeah, we can. This was going nowhere. We were all just saying the same things.
We
But
pretty
I mean,
much
I don't
ended
know.
our debate at like 5 minutes again.
But yeah, again, but yeah, who do you think won in the comments? Yeah, I don't know. We don't get any viewers.
I don't know. Write down what you think in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed. Anthony owowatsdis. He
Yes.
drinks water along with me. We drink lots of water. His channel's
Yes.
top right. Mine's top left. Subscribe to them.
Daily uploads, baby.
Yeah, I upload 3 times a day.
Never.
Let's go.
Yeah, but yes, but have you missed a daily upload before?
I missed twice.
Twice. I've never missed
You
one.
have. Anyway, that's gonna be all for today, guys. Click the end screens,
Yeah.
click
So
the channels,
see
and
ya. Bye.
peace.